Hello and welcome to the Sega Nerdcast, episode 93, and this week is going to be a special Sega holiday special. So if you're hearing this on the Radio SEGA channel, welcome. Hopefully you guys have heard of the Sega Nerdcast before. If not, we are the Sega Nerds, SegaNerds.com, which is one of the longest running Sega fan sites, community sites out there. I'm Chris, the editor of Sega Nerds, and with me are my great buddies and pals who help run the website. We have Marcin.
How's it going? Like our page, follow us on Twitter, don't forget. If you haven't heard us, yeah.
Marcin is our Facebook social media guru. We also have
Facebook whore.
We also have Kopke, who manages the Twitter side of things, but also writes tons of content. Yeah, he does both, really. He writes a lot of great content.
He's promiscuous.
He keeps us up to date with everything happening in Japan, because I think it's safe to say no one else on the site knows what's going on there. But I think maybe most importantly, depending on who you ask, but for me, most importantly, he is kind of our art and multimedia director, which he's amazing at. So welcome, Kopke.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here for the holiday section.
And last but not least is our buddy Jason, who does a wonderful series on the website, Forgotten Racers of Sega's Past, or I think I got that right. But welcome, Jason.
Hey guys, we could edit that out, right?
Spam all the social networks.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about what we wanted to do with this show. We got about an hour block for this Radio Sega Special, and we're talking about maybe we'll just talk about our favorite Sega games that we like to play around the holidays. But that's kind of generic, and it seems like probably a lot of people are going to be talking about that. So we wanted to broaden it up a little bit and just kind of go around and talk about some of our favorite memories of our Christmas memories. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Sega related, but some of them might be. And then we'll go on talk about some other things. Like we'll talk about some of our favorite Sega games that we like to play, but other traditions and other things like that. You know, it's the holiday time. We love spending time, with our families and doing that kind of stuff. But we also, love playing video games around this time too. It's a great time. I'm really excited because starting this Friday actually is going to be my last day of work through like early January. So I'm going to have like 2.5 weeks off. Really excited, and I'm hoping I can actually get some video game time going.
Do you get paid for those 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm a federal employee, man.
Fuck.
We gotta go game hunting then.
I gotta upgrade to federal employee, man.
Well, it has its drawbacks. They can send you to war to certain death.
That too. I take
Just
that
we're
back.
gonna pay you, but here, have fun.
Yeah,
exactly. But let's go around. I don't know who wants to start. Why don't we let's talk about some of our favorite memories as a kid. Like maybe there was a time when you opened up a particular present, video game present, that you weren't expecting, that you got really surprised by. Anyone have anything in mind?
I got a couple. I don't want to bore everybody with the whole life story, but so my first console ever was the Sega Genesis. I'm pretty sure it was the Model 2. And I got it around 1995, I'm going to say. Around 95. And my first game for that console was Vector Man, and it seems like a blur, blue blur. But I remember being very excited getting that, because it was the first video game console I ever had. So it was the first idea of what video gaming is. You plug it into a TV, you have this controller, and you can make whatever's on the screen do things. And I don't know, it was really really cool. Following that though, then we got a PlayStation, a PS1 around 97, 98, and then I don't know what happened to the Genesis that I had prior to the PlayStation, but then I got the Genesis 3, which is not an official Genesis by Sega, but I think
Majesco.
What's up?
I said Majesco made it.
Yeah, so I mean I think they licensed it to them, but yeah, that was my that was also close to winter. I don't think it was exactly by Christmas, but it was around Christmas time. and yeah, I just remember, geeking out and playing. I had like really crappy games too. I had like Toy Story and Jungle Book, and I don't know. I mean, they were okay for the time, but and I don't know if you guys had that Sonic, like it was like a 3 classic thing. So it had the Mean Bean Machine, it had Sonic 1 and 2 on it too, and it was like this 3-in-1 game cartridge.
How old were you, Christmas '95?
90. Oh shit, probably 6.
I always have to remind myself because I'm kind of like the old man on the website. I'll be 34 this Christmas, and it's crazy that that there's that much of an age gap in some of us on here.
Yeah,
but
I'm actually the oldest.
What's that? How old are you, Kopke?
34. I had my birthday in November 17, so I'm actually a month older than Chris.
That's right. Wow. But I love it. I think it's awesome that even though we have that much, it's not a ton of years or anything like that, but it's still really cool that even though there is an age gap there, that there's still. Yeah, I think you got right in at the very last, I guess maybe. For kids to be young enough but still be old enough to really get into Sega when they were still in their prime. You know what I mean? Like 95, that was probably, if you're going to get into Sega and be a really diehard, Sega kid, that was the time to do it. And I don't know if post-Genesis, how many kids there are out there that got a Saturn for Christmas and are still diehard Sega fans today.
Like, fuck yeah, I got Saturn.
Raise my hand here. I remember getting a Saturn Christmas Day.
You got one, Jason?
Yeah, I ended up getting the Saturn when they were running the 3 free games deal when it came with Virtua Fighter, Daytona, and Virtua Cop.
Was that your first console, or what was your first console?
My first console that was my own was a Genesis Nomad.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I remember Chris. I think it was. My memory's a little foggy. It was either Christmas or my birthday, one of the two. But probably Christmas. I remember getting that, Sonic 2, Mighty Max, and Monopoly.
No, Mighty Max. I was really, really excited for Mighty Max when it came out because I was a big fan of the cartoon. I don't know if any of you guys watched that growing up.
I watched it.
It was really cool, but the game was, not what I was expecting at all.
No, not
at all.
Nope.
Well, how to play?
Jason, do you remember much about it?
I remember it being a side scroller, and I remember it was kind of like a shooter, and you would shoot your bullets, and they would bounce around like ping pong balls. That's mostly what I remember.
Like Pong.
I actually bought it not too long ago. I bought it at that, I forget what it's called. It's the retro game store in the Cherry Hill Mall out here in Jersey. I picked it up there for like $4. Or only.
I remember the music was decent. Game Over screen scared the crap out of me as a little kid, but because it was like that creepy Red Skull guy. I don't remember much about Mighty Max.
The toys were good
like
too.
Captain
That might
America.
be one of the best parts about Mighty Max was the toys because girls had the Polly Pocket line of toys where they had like a little clamshell and you'd open it up and there were just these like tiny miniature toys in there and they were all like different themes. Like it would be like Polly Pocket, I don't know, pet store or something like that. You'd open it up and it'd be like a tiny pet store in there and you'd have like little dogs and things like that. Where Mighty Max had that same kind of thing and that was kind of the boys' version of Polly Pocket where the Mighty Max things. And they were all themed too, so you'd open it up and it might be like a lava area and you'd have Mighty Max and you'd have all the other guys and you'd have the bad guys and stuff too.
I remember it had this weird one that was shaped like a green skull and it was kind of cool. I forget what it opened up to though.
Oh, I actually remember this. Yeah, they had a TV show too. Yeah.
The cartoon was really, really good. I was a big fan of the cartoon growing up. But yeah, the game did not really do all that well.
Not at all.
So how old were you when you opened up the Saturn, Jason?
I want to say, I think they were running that deal around 95, 96. I want to say at least 4 or 5.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
I guess you answered that question for me. Like you got so you were 4 or 5 when you got the Saturn, but how old were you when you? So when did you get the Nomad then? Was that like the previous year?
It was like a year or two afterwards. The Saturn was more of a family console,
Ah, okay.
and the Nomad was like my first, like my own console.
So then you were kind of the kid that got the Saturn for his birthday.
Kind of, yeah.
Everyone else got a PlayStation, you got a Saturn. But yeah,
I love the Saturn. I mean, PlayStation has its games, but the Saturn always has a place in my heart.
I actually played the Saturn,
And
like, my family members had the Saturn, like, so I went to their place and I played, like, what the fuck was one with, like, the skeleton?
Mr. Bones.
Probably.
Mr. Bones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember playing that.
That's an Ed Annunziata game. So if you're a fan of Echo the Dolphin,
Mm-hmm.
he made that game.
Or
That's cool.
Colibri.
Uh-huh.
Colibri is weird.
I
That
love
is
that
one
game.
weird game.
And actually, contrary to all of you, I was the kid who always wanted a Saturn for Christmas but never got one until actually Chris got me one. It's actually a funny Christmas
So
story.
recent?
Because actually, the Saturn was very expensive in Mexico, and it was really hard to get. And the only way you were able to get it was through the black market. So I never got one because they were really, really expensive, almost like $400 for one here.
Oh my
It was like
Jeez.
almost impossible to get one. So the thing was that Chris made a Christmas a year ago because I was like, oh, I told him the story that I've never got a Saturn, and it's really hard to get an American Saturn here. Like, the only way you can get a Saturn here is the Japanese one, and it is also expensive. You have to pay like $400 for one. So unless you get it from Japan directly, right? So the other thing was like getting the NTSC version of it is really, 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 really hard to get here. So Chris like surprised me one Christmas, sending me one Saturn, and actually it's an American one. So I was like really surprised and really happy to finally get one because it was like like 10, 12 years of frustration of not being able to get one. So it was a really, really special gift. So thank you once again, Chris.
Did you get him a game with it, too?
Yeah, he got me Birds of Fighter with it. So it was actually one of the good titles to play with it.
It's like it's like you got the complete American launch package because you got Virtua Fighter, which came out with the Saturn originally.
And actually, Chris made a really nice gift because it's actually the first version that comes with the other controller, like the really like edgy one.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It was really amazing. So I was really surprised because that was a really special Christmas gift. Literally, Christmas.
A lot of people criticize the Saturn's controller, that first generation Saturn controller, but I really liked it. I loved how the shoulder buttons were the clicky buttons rather than the triggers. I like that about it.
Yeah, me too. It was. Let me see if I can get the controller.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. It's going to be an audio show.
Oh. Well, I mean, we're recording it as a Nerdcast anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Picture it. I'll imagine it in my head.
So whereas the PlayStation's shoulder buttons, they're more buttons, right?
Yeah.
And you just
they're more like actual triggers, somewhat.
Yeah, and so the Saturns had just like their buttons were click. You click them in, and I liked it because you feel more feedback, I guess. I mean, it didn't rumble or anything like that, but when you press it, you could get that little click. It just felt good, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually,
Success.
like that design too.
I found it.
Yeah, exactly that one.
Oh, yeah.
D-pad's weird. It's all like concave.
Members. Yeah.
I remember my brother was trying to convince my older brother was trying to convince us to get a Saturn instead of a PlayStation, and he would try to tell us that the Saturn was more powerful and all this other stuff, but we had a friend who came over and showed us Resident Evil. He had just bought the PlayStation, and he brought it over with Resident Evil, and we played it for the very first time, and we were hooked. And at the time, we thought that Resident Evil was exclusive to PlayStation. We didn't know that it was also coming out on Saturn. So we were like, no way, we want a PlayStation so we can play Resident Evil. And so that's what we ended up going with. We ended up getting the PlayStation version. So probably if I look back, so one of my favorite things about Christmas time as a kid. Do you guys remember Funko Land? I don't think you guys had them.
Yeah.
No, we had Coney Island instead of Funko Land, and
Okay, so
those Shoei's Pizza, which is kind of like the restaurant you guys got with the robot animals.
Chuck E. Cheese?
Chuck E. Cheese.
Thank you.
So Funkoland was great.
It was shit.
It was basically before GameStop came along. GameStop ended up buying up all of the big video game chains in the United States. But Funkoland was one of the major ones growing up. But the coolest thing about Funkoland, you'd go in and you could get this little, like a 2-page sheet of, it almost looked like a newspaper fold out, but it would have listings of every single game that they had in stock. And it wasn't necessarily just the ones that they had in stock, but it was the ones that were released up to that point for every system. So you could see like NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, everything was on there. It was listed and it was priced, and it was really, really cool. So one of the things my parents would do is they would bring out the newest. They release a new one every month, so it would get updated and everything. And so they'd go to Funkoland and they would bring one of those like sheets home, and they're like, all right, pick like 5 or 6 games that you guys want, and maybe you'll get those for Christmas. And so it was always really cool because my brother and I would, we'd take that sheet, we'd go in our room, and we'd start looking through the whole list, and we'd compare it to like what we had, and we'd try to start coming up with our own list and then combine them, and we'd look at a game and say like, oh, let's get Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and then we'd look at through our old video game magazines and look up reviews and try to read all about them and everything like that, and then we'd mark off the ones we wanted, and it was just the anticipation of knowing the games that we wanted to get, and then opening our presents on Christmas to see which games actually came in. And my parents, sometimes they would get those games, sometimes they would just get brand new games. It was always a surprise, and that was just always one of the coolest things about it. And I don't think we would ever have those kinds of memories if there wasn't Funkoland around. We would just get those same surprises. Backing up a little bit from Funkoland, this was probably a few years before that, and up to that point, my brother and I didn't have any video game systems of our own. I think the only thing we really owned in the house at the time was a 2600, and my older brother had that, and he would very rarely could we ever get to play it. And I think I was probably in first grade at the time. We really wanted a Nintendo, and I played soccer for like the local youth association, and one of the things is I think they were doing some sort of fund drive or fundraiser where you had to sell popcorn. I can't remember exactly what it was you had to sell.
Selling candy bars or something.
Yeah, is essentially that. But I got into it late and I wasn't able to sell anything. But I went to this like banquet or party, and that's where they announced who ended up winning, and they had a special announcement for the prize. No one knew what the prize was going to be, but it was said to be like really, really awesome. Anyway, this kid who I didn't know from another team ended up winning, and they unveiled the prize, and it was a brand new NES. And I was like, oh my god, that is the most amazing thing ever. I wanted one so bad. And
should have knocked him out for it.
I know. we begged my dad that we wanted a Nintendo, and he was just adamant. He's like, there's no way in hell you guys are getting a Nintendo. They're way too expensive. Stop asking about it. And he would get like really mad about it every time we asked. But that was the only thing we wanted at Christmas was the NES. And he was so adamant about it, we completely forgot about it. We're like, there's no way. It was way too expensive. There was no way he was going to buy it for us. And so one of the cool things, though, my parents did is we'd each get our individual presents between my brother and I, and then they would always get us like one present, like a big present that was usually more expensive that we'd have to share. And that's
like
kind of how they did it every year.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was this one big box, and we're like, man, what is that? And it was heavy. We'd always go like pick it up and shake it around, And like I said, we had completely forgotten about the NES. And anyway, so we open up all our presents, and then we wait till the very end. and open up our one big present. We both tear it open, and as you probably guessed, it was the NES, and we just freaked the hell out. I mean, it was awesome. Like my brother and I mean, we were, in our underwears. So it was that, stereotypical, Christmas Day thing where you're in your little like He-Man underoos or something, and I just remember ripping open everything. We ran in our room, plugged everything up, and we just sat there the rest of the day playing Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and that was pretty much like the beginning of our livelihood into video gaming. It was amazing. It was one of the funnest experiences ever, and I mean we had a lot of those. After that, we would open up. I think the following year we got a Genesis for Christmas, or maybe it was a couple years after that, and then we got a Super Nintendo, and it was just always great getting those games on Christmas and just spending the rest of the day in your room playing video games. And that was some of the coolest moments of my childhood, especially on Christmas.
No, yeah, I mean, for me it was similar because like every Christmas, I never gave a shit about anything else besides like what kind of games they got me. Like they asked me, oh, well, what do you want? Well, I don't want clothes. Like I remember when I was like 9 years old. Yeah,
Nobody wants clothes.
Well, now I kind of want clothes because I'm like, well, shit, I have like 3 pairs of pants and they all have holes in them. So now like, now I need clothes. But when I was younger, it was just all, strictly video games. They're like, so what do you want for Christmas? Well, games. And I think it was like 2000. It must have been 2000. So like around November, I got the Dreamcast in 2000, and I bought Sonic Adventure. And Shenmue must have been around that time too, but it was my half brother who bought the game, and then he brought it over, and then we played the game. And now, like I said many times, hundreds of times before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but like prior to that, I had the PlayStation, and I had the Game Boy Color, which that's a whole nother story. But that one, quick story. I was like 7 or so. He bought the Game Boy Color. It was like the Pikachu Yellow edition, and it had like the characters on the side. And that was a complete surprise. And that was my first portable game ever. But anyway, prior to the Dreamcast and Shenmue, it was like PlayStation, the blocky graphics. So like looking at that was just fucking mind blowing. But yeah, so it was like a Dreamcast game and then an N64 game because I also had a Nintendo 64. I feel spoiled as a kid, but yeah. So my relatives did this asshole trick where they bought a big box and then they inserted like clothes and like crap and they made it feel heavy.
Wow.
I opened the box and I was like because I told them what I wanted. I wanted Majora's Mask and I think it was either Code Veronica or one of those, but I was like, okay, I want this and this, and I opened the box and it's clothes, and my face went from like this to like this, because I was very animated, like my face dropped, and then I went farther in and there was like the expansion pack because you need it for Majora's Mask, and then there was Majora's Mask and then the Dreamcast game. And I was like, damn, I never, I was like, those bastards. Well, not in that language at 8 or 9, whatever it was, but I was like, you bastards. But yeah, I still wanted to do that myself, but I've never gotten the chance to like get like a big box and like fill it with like rocks, and then like give it to the person, and then they open it and it's not what they expected. But yeah,
like that video of the guy who bought a PS4 and he just shoved a brick in the box.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, motherfucker.
Here's a good question. What is your worst video game Christmas present that you ever got? Was there ever a game that you got and you might have been excited for it, maybe not, but you went to play it and you realized the game was complete crap?
It was like a crappy PlayStation game. It was called like Alexander McQueen, like firefighter or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Roscoe McQueen. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it was that game. I was like, yeah, it's okay, I guess. But I didn't really enjoy it as much. I maybe played once or twice, and then I let it be. But I think it was like my aunt bought it or some shit. She didn't know what the hell I wanted.
She sucks.
Yeah,
It's so weird. My mom has such an obsession with that game. It's not even funny.
really?
Like when we talk about favorite PlayStation 1 games,
Ever
with
played
my
what?
mother, it's favorite PlayStation games. With my mother, it's Tetris Plus, that, and Duke Nukem Time to Kill. It's such a weird
What about
combo.
Planet of the Apes?
Explain that game. What is it? I've never heard of it before.
Oh, Roscoe McQueen? Pretty
Yeah.
much you're just like a dude running around fighting fires.
You're just putting out fires and
And you're beating
in
up stuff with an
levels.
axe.
Yeah, you're beating up stuff with an axe. And that game, and that had like a Rugrats game, like that, Rugrats and like Spyro. It was like all around like the same age. Like, but those 3 games made me nauseous. Like that, those are the only games that made me like legit. Like the visuals made me want to like throw up for some reason. And not because it sucked. Like it wasn't like, oh, it sucks. Like I want to, like just visually. I don't know if it was the graphics or what, but they made me feel nauseous for some reason, and I never knew why.
That's
So,
I remember Rugrats. I was never too big on Spyro, though. Rugrats I played.
Yeah. That was like Rugrats and Croc and yeah.
Oh my god, Croc. Those days.
I remember we totally got pulled into the whole Power Glove
Oh,
propaganda.
Dude.
it's so bad.
And we wanted one so bad. I mean, I still remember very vividly the commercial of the kids playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And so we thought that you could put this glove on, and it was almost like what the Wii was trying to create. It's like almost like a one-for-one, move where you throw a punch and it would actually punch in the game. And we were too young to be able to really call bullshit on it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so we believed the whole commercial, like the advertising. They sucked us in. It was perfect what Nintendo did, and we wanted a Power Glove so bad. We begged and begged for it. And my parents ended up getting us one, and it might have been the following Christmas after when we got the NES. And I remember pulling out of the box, and I just remember there being a lot more crap than I thought that there was going to be. I assumed you'd have that awesome, badass-looking glove, and it would plug into the NES, and that was it. But no, it came with these like big bars, these big plastic bars, and they were the sensors
And all
that you had
that.
to put. So you had to put one would, and they would connect, and it was just kind of like and I guess an L shape, and you'd lay one across the top of your TV, and then the other side would come across the side of it, and then you had this gigantic manual, and you would have to program whatever game you're going to play beforehand. So you had to put everything in, program it, and hit enter, and sometimes it'd work, sometimes it wouldn't work. Anyway, we had Tyson's Punch-Out at the time, which is the game that we really wanted to play it with. We put it all in, we got it all set up, and it was the biggest load of bullshit I've ever played up to that point. It was like, it's
Pretty
nothing
much a
like
mount for
the
your
cartoon
controller.
commercial. Yeah, it was just so bad. And I mean, we played it a couple times. We messed around with it, and it ended up just becoming a toy that we would use when we were like playing G.I. Joe or something like that. We just basically used it. We'd wrap the wire around our arm, and we just punch each other with it, and that's pretty much what the Power Glove ended up being. And I suspect that's probably what it was for a lot of kids out there who
Melee
actually
weapon.
ended up playing with one and ended up getting one. But I think that was probably the worst video two on the NES. I remember being really pissed off at that game when we got it. It was fucking terrible. I hated that game. But I don't know. What about you guys? Anyone else?
Yeah, I think, for example, my parents weren't much into giving us presents in Christmas. Rather, they gave us money to do whatever we want at Christmas. So I remember that, well, each Christmas they took us to the store or to somewhere else to buy ourselves our presents. They just went like, here's your budget, do whatever you want with it. So I remember one Christmas that I was really excited because I already played Quackshot and World of Illusion. So I said, well, Fantasia must be good, but it turned out to be really, really bad, and it was really disappointing, and I wasted my money on Fantasia. Yeah, it was really bad.
And you picked it yourself?
Yeah, I picked it myself, so I had
Makes
a
it
lot of
worse.
remorse. Yeah, I was like,
It was your
no,
decision.
man, I made such a bad decision because this cost already like $30. And the other time I did that was when I was in a Christmas and I was buying like Dreamcast games, and I made the big mistake to pick up Sonic Shuffle. And man, do I regret
Hey, I like
making
Sonic
that
Shuffle.
decision.
I like Sonic Shuffle too.
I thought it was better than Mario Party, honestly. Like at that time when I played Mario Party 2 and 3, I thought Sonic Shuffle was more entertaining. Like, swear to God.
I actually still had Sonic Shuffle just
Me
to
too.
remember that I have to be cautious about my decisions.
You had to go take a shower after you played it.
This is a reminder that you have to be to really analyze what you're gonna do from now on in purchases. Like, don't do anything rush. Like,
you gotta
think
read
about it
reviews.
first.
You gotta watch YouTube videos. You gotta ask a second opinion. It's like going to the doctor.
Yeah,
It's like, does this look like fun? No.
It is right there on my Dreamcast bean, like saying like remember to be cautious about your purchases.
I have like a weird Funko Land story, since we're on that topic.
Yeah, sure.
So, when I was a little kid, I used to always read comics, and I would always see ads for Chase HQ2 for Genesis. So, the one time, I go to Funko Land to pick it up. Of course, they don't have it. So, I'm like looking to see what else they have. They ended up offering me hard driving, and I ended up stuck with that. Like, if you've ever played hard driving, it's like this kind of not aged well polygonal racing game.
What system?
Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Think of like a poor man's Virtual Racing.
Oh.
And then it was just, I was like, how could they sell me this? And then it was just bad. It's like, I wanted Chase HQ.
My first racing game was, I think, Ridge Racer.
I still have it up here.
Did you play Ridge Racer before?
Ridge Racer was nice.
I love Ridge Racer.
Yeah, the original. I like getting like those demo discs in the mail. I don't even recall subscribing to anything, but for some reason I kept getting things in the mail, like from Toys R Us. You know, pop in the demo disc and had like 7 games or whatever. It was like Jersey Devil and Kagero Deception 2, and there was Tekken 2 demo, and sometimes like I didn't like buy the games. I just keep playing the demos, and I didn't realize there were like. I was at an age where I was like, do I have to unlock the full game? Like, I didn't understand what the fuck was like why the full game wasn't there. I wasn't the brightest at times, but yeah.
They used to do that to me too. I remember going into my mailbox once after school, and they had sent me Legend of Legaia demo disc. And I thought it was the full game. I played it for like I think it was like at least a couple hours in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, well, buy the full game. It's like, I thought you sent me the full game. What?
Damn it, got chipped.
I remember the demo discs, like Jam Pack and all that.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever play Burning Road on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation?
I actually have it behind me somewhere.
I remember my
collapsing
cousin,
PS1 shelf.
My cousin got us that for Christmas one year, and I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really, really fun 3D kind of off-road arcade racer for the PlayStation, and that might have been one of our first racers at that point in time. That was a good game. I liked it.
To be honest, between Ridge Racer and that feels more like a Daytona clone than Ridge Racer does. When you sit and think about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. It was a lot more arcadey than Ridge Racer was, I think.
Yeah.
Had a lot more like over the top driving and things like that. I mean, it was
Cars
a lot
with
more
like gigantic wheels that you could barely see.
This was the time where everything had to be extreme, it was like the mid 90s or late 90s and things like that.
Did anybody ever play the extreme games for PlayStation? Like Too Extreme, 3 Extreme?
Mm-mm.
Those were pretty cool. They were like they were pretty much racing games, but it was like extreme sports racing. So you had like bicycles and roller skates and snowboards. It's pretty cool.
I remember Cool Borders, if you remember Cool Borders.
Yep.
I think it was. That's the one I played.
I only played 3.
No, I enjoyed those.
I played a demo of it.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal was always good.
That we enjoy watching around Christmas time. I saw one movie. Has anyone seen The Krampus yet?
Nope.
So my wife and I, we went and watched that. Actually, the first day it came out, I think it was the Friday before last, I think it was. And so if you've watched any of the trailers for the movie, I'm not going to give any spoilers away or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of talk some like an overview.
Spoiler alert, Chris is not going to give spoilers.
They all die.
I won't do it. But if you've seen the trailer, I will talk about what is in the trailer. So the first part of the movie, according to the trailer, is like it's a lot more comedic, and it shows like a family. No one really wants to be together around this Christmas time, but it's just kind of a tradition. You know, they all have to be together.
It's like they're forced into it, kind of.
Yeah, you know, it's just out of tradition. They all have to come together, and you've got a lot of the stereotypical, you know, people that you see in a lot of these movies. You got like the grandma who's an alcoholic; she's drinking the whole time, and you've got man, I forget his name, but he plays the whammo guy or whammy in Anchorman. I forget his name. He's also in a ton of movies, but anyway, he plays a character who's very, very similar to Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. He's great, and so you got all these different characters, but there comes to a point in the trailer where they're all like, you know, basically doing everything that goes against what Christmas is about. And because of that, they get punished, and instead of Santa coming, the Krampus comes, which is this kind of it's a Germanic folklore that basically people who are bad around Christmas time on, I think it's December 6th or 5th, something
like
around
around
that.
like Saint Nick's Day.
I think it's supposed to be the day before that.
Yeah.
Is Krampus Day in Germany, and so the legend goes like he would come around and he would basically beat bad kids with sticks who were being bad.
Put them in a bag and then beat them.
So really bad
and, like,
kids.
A burlap sack and like beat the shit out of them with like
kids
sticks.
really bad.
Yeah.
He would put them in a bag and like take them away. And really, if you think back to it, it's probably just a way for parents to keep their kids in line. Like, hey, you little shit, if you keep being bad, Krampus is going to come and take you away, and you'll die.
Yeah.
Is what they were doing.
Germans, you know.
It's pretty funny. But anyway, so the trailer made it look like once the Krampus comes, it turns into a very serious horror movie, and it was really scary, and that's kind of what the trailer led us to believe. But when we ended up sitting and watching it, it wasn't really that scary at all. Like it was. If you enjoy Gremlins,
I was gonna say it sounds like Gremlins.
It is. It doesn't take itself too serious. It allows, even throughout the movie, even when it starts turning darker, it still has fun with itself. Like a lot of the different bad guys or you know, different of the Krampus like minions, I guess you could call them, are kind of lighthearted and things like that. It's still very violent, like a lot of those old movies are, but it really reminded me of those old like 80s horror movies like Gremlins and things like that. We really, really enjoyed it, and I think it's going to become a Christmas like tradition for us and for a lot of other people out there. It really harkens back to what made those old movies like Gremlins and other things like that kind of special. It was really good, and the ending was really interesting as well. I hate those movies that kind of just tie everything up into a nice little bow. You know, it's like supposed to. It makes you think everything bad's gonna happen, and then it's like, oh, never mind, it all fixes and stuff like that. The way it ends is really interesting, and I won't say anything more than that. But it was really good. No, it wasn't.
All
but
right.
you know, it also if
Krampus
you're
2
a fan
Electric
of
Boogaloo.
they could continue this series if they wanted to, and I would totally be on. I'd totally be down with that. But it's like it also felt like those old Tales from the Dark Side movies. Like an episode of that. If you were watching those, like or the Crypt, what was it? The
Crypt Keeper.
Do they have Svengoolie like where you live or no? Or maybe it's a Chicago thing.
I've never heard of that.
So it's like a channel. I guess it was from local channel, and it's a guy. He's been doing it for like 30 years or so, but they play like really crappy, well not crappy, but like B horror movies, and they like do occasional like commentary over it while they're playing. And that he had like this gag with like rubber chickens, and he had like this makeup on and a hat, and I don't know. I thought it was funny, but yeah. So Gremlins, I remember, which was a horrible idea by my parents because I think I was like 6, and because they thought it looked cute, Gizmo and whatever. But, like the thing that was like the most visually striking thing, like that I remember clearly to this day, even when I was like younger, is that scene where the mother was in the kitchen, and they have the Christmas music playing. Like, I don't remember the rest of the movie, but that's the only thing I visually remember. And then, I don't know if she shoves the gremlin in a blender or something, or in a microwave, but I just remember that. Like, just that. That's it. I don't know the plot or anything. I just remember that scene. And they were like, what the fuck? But they're like, I thought this was a kid's movie. Yeah, nope. But I was scarred as a kid.
Yeah. So what are some of your other guys' favorite Christmas movies? They don't have to be horror themed. They could be happy. We were just watching It's a Wonderful Life downstairs with the kids as they went to bed. So we don't always watch horror movies, although we love them here. What about you, Kopke? What are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
Christmas movies? No, I actually can't remember one. Like, I remember going to see certain movies during the holidays, like like nerdy things, or like going to particular like Star Wars matinees or something, but I don't remember any that I can recall. But I remember that TV stations here usually repeat the same Christmas specials all over again, that everyone here gets like really sick of watching TV, go somewhere else. Like, there's this I think the animations from the United States, it's one that has like little wooden puppets and has like a Pinocchio, and there's other one that has like the story of Santa Claus that are made like dolls, but I don't remember how I recall.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, those
at least.
Yeah, those guys are like wooden toys. I don't remember how it's called.
Yeah, like the Rudolph.
We repeat that every single Christmas, and people didn't really like don't watch it anymore because of that.
Gotta watch the Yule log, 24 hours a day.
Oh God.
I prefer a lot of I mean, of course, I enjoy, the Christmas Story. I enjoy National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but I like some other ones that weren't always the ones that most people probably think of when they think of Christmas movies. Like, I enjoyed Ernest Saves Christmas was one. I was a big Ernest fan growing up. I loved Ernest. I remember
Jingle All the Way. No.
Yep.
I remember watching.
I was waiting for it, but that's my favorite Christmas movie.
Oh God! But I remember watching the very first Ernest movies. Ernest Goes to Camp. Have you guys ever seen that one?
I've seen it. Like, when I was younger, I went to like video rental stores, and I've seen the Ernest videos, but I never actually rented them or watched them. So I can't.
That's my all-time favorite Ernest movie. I love that movie. Basically, he's like a camp counselor at like a boys' like summer camp, and he's actually not a counselor. He's like the janitor, but he wants to be a camp counselor. That's like his life's dream. But he's just a screw up. Like, everything he does, he screws up and messes up and everything. And this it's like a almost like a Native American owned. Or they have a lot of roots grounded in Native Americans, and they're very involved with it. And there's this outside company that's trying to come in and buy up the land and shut down the camp. And so him and the camp counselors and the campers have to kind of band together and fight back this like evil corporation coming in. But one of the crazy things about it is there's actually some like a lot of, or not maybe a lot, but there's just one scene that's very anti-Semitic that I didn't realize at all growing up. And we would shout, like we would like say quotes from it, playing around and other things. So there's this one scene early in the movie where Ernest has to go get a vaccination, but he's afraid of needles, and the nurse is this Native American lady who's in throughout the movie. She gives him the shot, and he screams out loud. He says something like, "I stole the Lindbergh. I am Joseph Mengele," which, if you actually, we didn't know who that was growing up, but later on in life, I'm like, who is Joseph Mengele? I looked him up. He was a Nazi, like doctor who did all these like experiments on Auschwitz prisoners, and they called him the Angel of Death. Like he was the one involved in gassing all of the Jews in Auschwitz and all this other stuff. And we had no idea that that's what this was. And we were going around like saying that. Like, I remember as kids, like anytime anything happened that like hurt us or like we got scared, we would scream like, "I am Joseph Mengele." We had no idea what it meant, but that's what we did.
It's official. We're getting kicked off the internet.
we
have just been censored
claiming that we were a Nazi Angel of Death because of Ernest.
This is a kids movie?
It was a kids movie, yes. It was.
Why would they put that dialogue in there? Like, out of all the things Ernest could have said, like, what is Ernest the character supposed to be? Like, is he supposed to be like dumb?
He's supposed to be like kind of goofy guy, but it all started from like he had like a TV show I think for a while. I don't know. It was Jim Varney who was the actor who played him. He played the main character in the Beverly Hillbillies movie. He was also in a lot of other stuff, but he was most well known for Ernest.
Is there an Ernest Goes to Auschwitz or something like that?
That was probably the last one they could have done, because they made a lot of Ernest movies. He saved Christmas. He saved Halloween. They did a lot of different holiday-themed ones. But that was
Ernest Goes to World War II.
Looking back, that is my biggest Ernest memory. But he did save Christmas. Maybe that's why he saved Christmas, because he hated it so bad. You probably were going to see a Ernest Saves Hanukkah movie ever.
At least we know that one they will never do.
He's dead now. So
is he really?
Yeah, he died probably about 10 years ago.
Wow. The actor?
The actor. Yeah, and he would play, he was probably, he would play multiple characters throughout the movies, too. So he'd be like an old lady, and he'd just do all these other different characters, which was really funny. But I don't, and that's the thing, is I don't know if he was supposed to be like an anti-Semite, or if it was just some weird line that was thrown in the movie. It
must have been the writers. I don't think he was like, all right, I'm going to ad-lib this, guys. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, action.
It's like how certain cartoons have weird subliminal jokes that only adults would get.
It's because the animators just are bored as hell, and they're like, you know what would be funny if we insert a dick in a Disney movie, They figured that'd be funny.
You ever heard of that weird conspiracy about one of the Little Mermaid VHS covers?
Yeah. I've seen all the Disney conspiracy things and things that apparently you could see in the movie when you really pause it. And,
like sex during Lion King.
Exactly.
That is true though. I saw that.
Or the priest, I don't know if it was in Little Mermaid or something, he has a boner or something, but they said he's standing on a stool. I don't know, it was fucked up.
This podcast just
was this about Christmas memories, or what were you talking about?
I don't know. I think Ernest just took us completely off course.
Disney boners.
What is your favorite holiday alcoholic drink? What do you guys like to drink? Maybe on Christmas or around Christmas time?
Well,
I've been drinking a Shiner Bock Holiday Cheer. which is really good.
Mhm.
It's like a holiday, like a Christmas themed beer. It tastes really, really good. But outside of that, I just drink hard liquor. So whiskey,
You drink
whiskey,
everything.
Straight up
scotch.
hard liquor.
I'm drinking some Johnny Walker right now, which
Nice.
probably drink too much these days. But hey, gets me through the holiday
It's the
season.
stress.
For
Mhm.
me, it usually goes to like pumpkin flavored things. I hate to sound like basic white girl, but like pumpkin
Wrong
flavored
season.
liquor is real. Hey, it works on Christmas though.
Is that a thing? Pumpkin flavored liquor?
Yeah, I have a bottle downstairs. It's like pumpkin schnapps or something.
Dude, there's like chocolate, wine and shit, so I'm sure pumpkin flavored booze
Yeah.
exists.
The other day, I was making coffee, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if whiskey tastes good in coffee. So I just did it. I'm like,
I like
all
how
right,
the
well,
bottle was like immediately right there, as if
Yeah,
it was
so
like
I was
right
like,
next to the
man.
coffee.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, a little bit of this.
it actually wasn't that bad. So that's what I've been kind of been doing. I've just been kind of experimenting.
Mixing
whenever I
liquid
would
Just
drink
putting booze in
something-
everything.
Yeah, so whenever I
Put it in the
have a
cookie
drink,
bake
I'm just
mix.
like, maybe whiskey will taste good with this. So
Make
like,
some Christmas cookies with a kick, yeah.
Oh my
so
god.
Those
Dude.
sprinkles, all Jack Daniels.
when I have some orange juice, I throw a little whiskey in there and see what happens.
Aren't you supposed to mix vodka with orange juice? Like
I
what?
just make, it's all just whiskey.
He makes the rules, man. It doesn't matter.
The whiskey's talking now.
Yeah.
For me, whiskey's usually the go-to beverage. Jack Daniels.
I like Jameson.
Well, my brother and I are really into preparing and mixing drinks. So we regularly, for the holidays or certain things, we choose like, okay, what do we want to drink? And we go like vodka, rum, or whiskey or something else. So most of the time we end up buying like certain books or decks. For
Yeah.
example, we like to make a lot of drinks based on rum. And what we do sometimes is that we bought this particular deck, which is illustrated by Shaq, and we take like 4
Shaq
random
and draw?
cards out of this, and for example, it says like sweet water, and we go like, okay, we're gonna prepare this and make a round of this, and we go like, okay, and we start mixing stuff like that. We do that most of the time for the holidays.
So,
And
Copy,
we
you're gonna
actually-
be the bartender for the Signers holiday party, right?
Right.
Yeah, actually, dude, I actually
You could
I
Amazon
have
Prime
certain
some of your
favorites.
drinks.
I have, for example, I can recommend one which is very cool. You have to buy this chocolate liqueur and mix it with Coca-Cola, and then add a little bit of mint, and it tastes really, really, really good.
That sounds good.
Ooh. Why don't you send us that, and maybe we'll post the recipe along in the show notes of the podcast this week. That'd be good.
Yeah, I think
Like a separate news
I'll write
post
that
with
up.
like Sonic holding like a glass of whiskey.
That's what we should do. That would be awesome. Why don't we come up with like 5 different Sega-themed Christmas alcohol drinks?
Okay,
Or just
I will
Sega-themed
write that
liquor in
up.
general.
We could do like a Sonic one that maybe is like some like I don't know
Blue.
like coconut flavored rum vodka.
Act
something.
1 Booze Zone or something.
Gotta
I
go
know,
fast.
I know certain ones. There's also like this one where you place like vodka, then you add some Sprite, and then you add a little bit of mint. And man, does that taste as good? But you have to add like a lot of ice, and man, that drink is so good. It's like chills you out. Like it's really good.
It's one of those drinks you like sip instead of just chugging.
Yeah. For example, you have a hard day at job, and you go to your house. That drink will chill you out really good.
My brother makes this pretty good mixed drink. It's like melon liquor and vodka with cucumbers.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Midori.
Yes,
that
Midori.
that Japanese melon liqueur. Man, that is so good. I
It's good.
remember getting really drunk with those things.
I make a really good drink. It's Knob Creek whiskey with 2 cubes of ice. And that's all you got to do.
That's it. Bartender. Hashtag bartender.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I just drink my whiskey straight a lot of times. Other than when I'm like for breakfast, I obviously mix my whiskey with orange juice. Like
throw some in the pancake mix and then just
whiskey with cereal, and that's your breakfast.
I'm just waiting to see Chris post a picture on some type of social network, just a bowl of cereal with whiskey and milk.
If I can find a
Snapchat.
box, if someone wants to send me a box of like, there had to have been some Sega themed cereal at some point, right? Like there had to have been a Sonic cereal.
I thought Sega only had to deal with SpaghettiOs or whatever.
Right, I had Sonic SpaghettiOs. Okay. Yeah.
If someone sends me a can of Sonic SpaghettiOs, I will mix it with 2 parts whiskey. I'll mix it all together, and I will record myself eating / drinking it. And
I'll be sure to have 911 ready.
I will do that.
Or
So if someone wants to do that, and take me up on that challenge, I will absolutely do it. We'll record video. We'll post it up on our YouTube channel.
Where can we find Sonic SpaghettiOs in 2015, though?
It'd be as bad as that kid who drank Crystal Pepsi from 1991.
Oh,
and then he projectile vomited all over the desk.
Oh.
Like it was like full on like Exorcist.
The best is I saw a video of it. This guy, he had like this just big bottle of vodka, and it was the dumbest thing ever. And he just chugged the entire bottle. I've never seen someone do this.
It's like that guy who like eats bars of soap.
Oh, he took it like he chugged the whole thing. I gotta give him credit just for getting the whole thing down. But it wasn't 5 seconds before he was just projectile vomiting.
Well, the body's like, what the fuck is going on?
Get
this out of here.
We're gonna throw this all up right now. This is disgusting.
I remember watching a video. It was one of my friends of mine, one of my other resident repro guys, like had a box of Batman cereal from like '89 and ate it. It was pretty weird.
That was that old, like that all that old cereal like that. That was that old like the Mr. T kind of cereal. It was all the same like texture and consistency, but they just shaped it differently. And so whenever they needed, like, whenever they had a licensed movie or video game or something like that, they're like, all right, we're just going to bring up the recipe and we're just going to stamp it with, like, a different symbol. And they'll just throw that in a box and ship it out. That was, like, and it actually tastes pretty good, though. I remember eating the Mr. T cereal as a kid. The Batman cereal, I remember that as well. I thought it tasted great.
Oh, those ones with marshmallows, right?
I don't think they were with marshmallows. I think it was just all like this yellow, like
generic
corn, like yeah. It was just like compressed corn into a shake.
They also did a lot of those things with marshmallow cereals, like for example the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, or the Ghostbusters one.
Yeah.
That was basically the same cereal. And they just place a different character in the box.
They don't make enough Christmas-themed cereal these days, do they?
No. They have sugar cookie.
I didn't even know there was Christmas-themed cereal.
What I've seen is that they released certain Pop-Tarts with kind of
Pop-Tarts is usually one.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch usually does something like Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch or Gingerbread Toast Crunch or something to that effect. The weirdest thing I've seen is they make Sugar Cookie Cracker Jack.
Cracker Jacks?
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, we got like I think like 3 more minutes. Before we gotta wrap things up for an hour.
And a good 20 about booze. We're leaving this in here. I don't care what they say.
Bacardi 151. I see you over there, Kopke.
The Bacardi 151, that's a bad thing. So I remember when I lived in San Antonio, we would go to this bar, and on Wednesday nights, they would have $2 you-call-its. And so the thing with me is I make my money go as far as it's going to go. So I figure, you know what, if I'm going to go spend $2, which is already cheap enough, I'm going to drink the cheapest and alcohol I'm going to get that's going to get me like the most fucked up that I can get. And so I would like double Bacardi 151 and Coke.
Because
And
I'm no alcoholic. I'm not like an alcohol connoisseur, so like I don't give a shit if it was made in like 1756 and it cost $100.
No. The thing with Bacardi 151 is that it has really high grade of alcohol. You know, the bottle, typically the alcohol looks white. This thing looks yellow, and it has a special cap on it, so it doesn't burn. That's how much alcohol that has.
Jesus.
It's like a high percentage. Yeah.
it's like the one
actually,
you always see the guys like trying to they take like a swig of it and try to like spew the fire, and they always burn their face off in the video. It never happened.
Oh,
and the thing is that Bacardi 151 is illegal in Mexico. You can't buy it on stores. You have to import it from somewhere else.
that's
That's
nuts.
weird.
So, yeah, they said like, no, this is way too flammable. We can't allow people to.
What is the what is the alcohol? It has like the wormwood in it, and it's like that like.
Absinthe.
Yes. Have you ever had any of that stuff?
I know that gives you really hard, man.
I tried it
do
Friday,
that.
but I don't think it was like legitimate absinthe. But I did try it. But like it was like 1/5 of a glass, and I felt it. You know what I mean? So it didn't take much.
Yeah.
I heard like the stuff that you can get in America doesn't have like the legit wormwood in it, which which if you go to Europe you get, and it like will make you hallucinate. And
Well, the bottle said it was from France, so I mean I don't know, but yeah, they
French
might.
are assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really hard. I once tried it, and I got really drunk in a couple of minutes. So, yeah.
I
I didn't hallucinate though. I didn't see like knights flying around my
Now
head.
the thing is that you have to turn to light fire in it, so it really gets you like really high.
It gets you out. It's nuts.
You know, the most dangerous thing you can do is like drink that thing with sugar and then burn it, like place fire in it,
Mm-hmm.
and then drink it. You can get really high hallucinations with that. But don't do
Because of the
that.
lighter fluid, usually. The mixture of it, the fumes.
We
Or
by
you
no
just
means
do
are
mushrooms.
recommending to do this at all.
No, don't do that.
Everyone's opinion is their own and is not representative of the company as a whole.
Yeah, exactly that.
I think
Merry
we've
Christmas, everyone.
I think we've done our hour. I think we're coming up on our limit. So hopefully you guys were entertained.
So what we're trying to say is Sega nerds drink booze on Christmas. That's
Yes.
what we're trying to say.
We're all going to be
But
very
Drink
intoxicated.
responsibly.
Booze. I'm going to send you all homemade cookies made out of Jell-O powder mix.
Yes.
It's
Please
weird.
do.
My mom makes it out of powder mix. It actually turns out pretty good.
Does it
Like
taste like powder mix though?
It tastes like Jell-O. They're Jell-O cookies.
Oh. Yeah, send
They're
some my
damn
way.
good.
So, Copy, I'm going to challenge you to come up with like 5 different Sega-themed alcoholic recipes this week that we can post up on social media throughout the week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We'll do that.
you're
with
a
a picture
resident
of Sonic
bartender.
drinking booze.
Well,
Like-
Sonic is 21 now.
Yeah, exactly. So Sonic is legal age. So
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So, all right. So watch out for that. We're gonna have I think this will probably be the first Sega-themed alcoholic Christmas drink recipe book that's gonna be going out ever. We're gonna be doing that.
you gotta
this
keep
week.
it edgy, man.
So
Sega Boozecast?
expect that. Maybe we can get some,
Sega Boozecast, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be funny. And maybe we'll do that. Maybe the week of Christmas. That would be fun. Copy. So you put that together, that alcohol thing, and then what
And
we'll
then
do is
and doing
the Nerdcast of Christmas week. We'll each create all 5 of those drinks, all of us.
Okay.
And, we
And
will
then drink
them-
5 glasses of
We will drink them throughout the podcast together. And we'll talk about them. We'll do reviews of each one. We'll talk about it. We'll get very
Okay.
drunk together. We'll talk about all that stuff. That would be great. That would
That
be.
sounds like a plan.
We'll
and
get the whole
Okay.
crew together.
Be wary that some liquors may be hard to get, so I'll try to mix them with certain things that you will be able to
accessible and not require me to
Very
like
good.
call the black market or
Mhm.
Yakuza.
No, for example, chocolate liquor is sometimes hard to get. You have to go to special wine
I've got a
stores
Benny's. It's
or
okay.
something
They
like
have
that.
that shit.
Okay,
They have it. They
very
have it
well.
at Benny's.
Then I will do that.
All right. So I think that we are out of time. Hopefully, we didn't run over. But this is the Sega Nerdcast. So we hope all of you listen to Radio Sega. Have a very good Christmas, and we will see you next year. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys later.
Have a
Happy holidays.